Hey, everybody, welcome to Coalition of the Sane, hashtag COTS. And today we are interviewing the incredible Nandini Jammi. She's the founder of Sleeping Giants. She's also the founder of Check My Ads. And she's the one who took down Breitbart by looking at their money flows and the ads that big companies were actually pushing to Breitbart News that they did not know. We are so excited to talk to somebody like Nandini. She truly is a member of the Coalition of the Sane. So buckle up and let's get to work. So, no, welcome to Coalition of the Sane. You have been a get. Doug has been just absolutely insane about getting you on. And once I started reading about you, I was too. I just can't wait to talk to you because when I read about your background, I was absolutely stunned. And it seems that, you said you're 35 years old. 35, I was an NSA contractor. All I wanted to do was do crazy stuff. I didn't care about anybody else but going to get bad guys. But it seems like you wanted to get bad guys at an early age. And what I wanted to ask you, was it your family, your friends? Was it something that happened when you were younger that gave you this justice streak to go after bad actors? Because when I've seen what you've done, I saw the evolution of your career and some of the items that you've been able to insert and what you sort of created out of nothingness to go get these bad actors. I'm just so impressed by it, and I always like to ask my guests, what makes you tick? Why are you inspiring? Why are you the person to go after these bad actors? What's in your soul that separates you from other people when you look at disinformation actors out there in that ecosystem?
Wow, thank you. That is quite the intro. And that's a great question out the door. I was a little Indian immigrant. So I moved to America when I was 4, and I moved to South Carolina, and we were like little nuclear family that lived in South Carolina, small town South Carolina, and I had a great time. I have no memory of ever being anything other than an American, and everyone around me in school made me feel like I belonged, and I made great friends. I um, the teachers in the school, they did a lot of international nights and stuff. There was like a small contingent of international students, and they did their very best to make us feel included and celebrated in some questionable ways. Now that I look back on it, like they did, like they had an international night where they wanted me and a couple of the other like kids from other countries to go and sort of present, like go on stage and wear the clothes of our country and like talk about things that we love that are from our countries. Except that the teacher, the librarian, wrote a script for us, and like she had us saying that, she had me saying that I love reading the Jungle Book, and I was like, I don't really like that book, but she was like, no, just say it. Like it was not anything bad. It came from a good place. They were really trying. And so I've always felt really welcome, and I've felt American for my whole life. And as the atmosphere changed in 2016 and the years preceding that, I became angry that other little kids might not feel that way and how wrong it is, because I have always felt like the world is an oyster. I was always excited to go out and meet people and learn about new cultures and travel, and the idea that kids today are growing up without that feeling of excitement and curiosity makes me really angry.
You know what I love about that answer? You're talking about South Carolina, right? And I think people would automatically go, oh my goodness, South Carolina. What was that, 93 when you immigrated, right? When you're talking right around there. Look at me doing math really quickly, Nandini, in my
Yeah,
head.
that's really good.
93. How old were you when they did the cultural day? How old were you when they actually said just read the Jungle Book? Because it sort of blew my mind, by the way. I know that you said it so sweetly and so kindly, but how old were you when that happened? Was that right after you got into America, or
I think
was that when you were a little bit older?
I was like in second grade, like first or second grade.
Oh my
They
gosh.
had they had me wear a sari. I'd never done that before. Usually you're a little bit older when you put on a sari. They had like a Chinese kid. They had a girl from Australia. I mean, to be fair, they were like equally stereotypical. They had an American girl go up wearing jeans and a denim jacket, and she had to say she loves eating burgers. So
So it was stereotype day for
yeah,
everybody. Yeah, that
yeah.
sounds great. No, that sounds so much fun. For me, being from Virginia and West Virginia and from Appalachia, I just wonder how I would have been presented or what they told me to do. I think it would be
Ooh.
interesting. I should probably ask you, you might want to give a quick summary because I already have a summary in my head. I read so much about you,
Mhm.
Nandini. But give you a quick summary of what you got into to fight disinformation. And then how did you how did you even have the idea? How did you even have the spark to say this is how I want to attack it?
Wow. Well, so that was in 2016. In 2016, I was working as a marketer. I was doing marketing for a British startup, a tech startup, and that was that. Like, I didn't have any plans or interest in getting into this type of work at all. I just was following my nose for the career that I had planned for myself, which was uh, like product marketing. And in fact, I had like a whole other parallel path that I was working on to become a marketing consultant that would allow me to ideally travel the world. I wanted to be a digital nomad. It's so like ick saying that now, but I was really into that idea. And
Right?
in 2016, the elections happened. I was in New York on that day visiting from. I was living in Berlin at the time. It was like a devastating day, and you could feel it in the air. And I went to visit Breitbart a couple weeks after that, and just kind of wanted to see it for myself because I had been hearing about it, and I wasn't like I wanted to see what we were dealing with, and I just happened to see ads for these really big companies running on Breitbart. Now, the insight that I had was I had been running my own ad campaign for my company a few months before, and I had been pretty persistent about knowing where my ads ran, which was annoying to my Google rep, who was like, no one ever asks this. So he had shown me how to look at my ad placements and find out where my ads ran. And I had remembered what I remembered from this experience was that I did not recognize any of the websites that my ads ran on for my company. And so when I saw the ads for big brands on Breitbart, I was like, the connection that I made was that this must be the same experience that marketers at these companies are having. They probably don't know where their ads are running. And my immediate reaction was to, well, I should write about this. So I wrote a Medium post like that night saying, hey, marketers, if we all block Breitbart from our media buy in Google Ads, we could make a difference here. We could like kind of hit them where it hurts. And I hoped that it would go viral, and it did not, but it did catch the eye of the one other person who had come to that conclusion on the other side of the country. And me and him, Matt Rivets, we got together and started working on what we thought would be just a really quick 2 week 2 month maybe project to alert advertisers that their ads were running on the site and give them an opportunity to fix it, because we both knew as marketers ourselves that they were not aware, and we don't want to further antagonize brands for no reason. We know what, like we know how it is on that side. So we gave them an opportunity to fix it, and it turns out that it was a problem that advertisers were not aware of, and we fell into this, and we did not know what we were doing. And so when you say, we have the tools and the technology, we didn't know anything. All we
I
saw
love
was
that.
the ad on the website, and curious when we were curious enough to do something about it.
So really it was expertise, intellectual curiosity, and horror of the 2016 election that got you
Yeah.
down this path. Right. And I bet you pissed off Steve Bannon.
Yeah, we did.
From when I left and to take over the campaign, we were going to make like $8 million in free cash flow that year. After we won, this group called Sleeping Giants a group of tech
I know.
executives.
That,
They literally stripped out. They went and took the 35 exchanges that sell the ads. 31 went away. So the ad revenues dropped like 90%.
I mean, we did not expect this to go anywhere. So we put in. I mean, those first few weeks, especially, were quite uh, like insane. Like it was a full-time job. It never stopped being a full-time job, but it moved so quickly that we were, the first brand to drop Breitbart was Kellogg's.
Perfect.
Yeah, a multinational corporation. Well, Breitbart was very arrogant at that point because they were the most influential outlet in America, more influential than Fox News, the Washington Post, CNN, at least in Facebook numbers. And so they launched a campaign or some kind of a hashtag boycott thing called Boycott Kellogg's, Dump Kellogg's or something, and instantly brought more attention to the issue. And so thank you, Breitbart. That act alone got our campaign more attention. It was covered by the news. And so it just kind of snowballed from there. And so all of a sudden, we go from a couple of us tweeting at advertisers to other people on Twitter realizing I can do something. I can join them in this, and it costs me nothing
No,
except
that's
tweet.
the inspiring part, Nandini, is that you can say, hey, I just sort of stumbled into it. It was intellectual curiosity. You had the expertise in marketing. You saw that there were big brands that didn't know where their ads were being placed, and you saw that there's a funding line going from these big brands in this advertising to dangerous or to disinformation publications like Breitbart. And I think why I got excited when I read your bio was that for me, it's the follow the money. It's actually cutting the knees off of some of these disinformation brands by limiting their funding. That's brilliant to me because it really is follow the money. Even when I did counterterrorism work, the financial flows is what we really looked at, like for OFAC and stuff like that when our company did stuff with the Department of Treasury. So that's why when I read your background, I said, my goodness, it's almost as you saw that, hey, the way that we can actually attack this is to go after their financial pipeline. And the way to do that is through education for big brands that we can actually manipulate the battle space ourselves, right? They're already leveraging these big brand monies to come in there. But why in the heck aren't we educating? Because they shouldn't be sending money to these kind of dangerous publications. I guess that's why I was excited to talk to you, Nandini, because it's that financial side that I thought was so brilliant. And I guess I could ask you is that when it did go off, did you have sleepless nights? Were there ever times you're like, gosh, should we be doing this? Or at that point, did you know that you had sort of caught lightning in a bottle and this is what you wanted to do? Or has it been stop and
Oh,
starts? Because for me, some of it was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this. Right? I've stumbled into something here, and this looks like a pain in the backside. But sleepless nights, or Steve Bannon, or things of that nature. Did you ever think, man, I'm just going to do this for a little while, and now, or was it something like this is what I want to do for the rest of my life?
wow. Awesome question. No, I never for a second stopped to think. It was just, it would like once I caught onto this, once I realized that it was having the intended impact, that it was actually bigger than I could have ever imagined, I could not let go. Instead, I became obsessed and it became the thing that I cared about the most. And I began to connect with other activists and journalists and people. It was such an exciting time because there were other people working on the same issue from different angles. So, like, someone started a anonymous Twitter account inspired by ours, but focused exclusively on financial platforms, payment platforms. So PayPal, Stripe, Shopify, and things like that. And so it became not just about advertising, but it became about the entire marketing stack that these folks use to build their businesses. And actually seeing it as a business came naturally to me because I am familiar with all these tech companies and software as a service providers because I
Mm-hmm.
used to work with them myself. So I know how they work. I know what they're thinking when someone reaches out to them and says, hey, you're working with a Nazi or whoever. And so I knew how to influence those people because they were my people. I mean, for better or for worse, my bread and butter was B2B marketing, which is extremely boring, but it's also extremely logical. And the way that people think and the way that they make decisions is easy to anticipate. So I was very good at what I did because I had been on the other side.
So you're telling me you combined fintech, SaaS, education and training, and awareness into a juggernaut, right? Into a way to actually influence the entire medium. And that's what you're doing today. And so for me, wow, right? That's identifying a business line, but it's a business line rooted in goodness. And I hate to go back to this. I'm going to ask you again. I'm going to dig here. Is that, again, you told me about your childhood and you told me, you wanted other kids, to have that feeling of goodness or acceptance, or other people to have that feeling of acceptance. But is there something still within you, or something again that really drives you to do this today? Is there something that's changed? Is there something where for me, it's just I hate bullies, right? I can pretty much encapsulate it to I hate bullies. And then
Mhm.
that's pretty much it, but my life goal and life view. But again, I know that you talked about your childhood, but what is it really, Nandini? And then after you answer that, what do you think? What about 2024? What is your goal in 2024? Your objective, or what is you seeing as a danger for Americans in 2024? Gosh, these are awful. Isn't that awful that I just did that to you? I feel so bad.
No,
But this is
I'm game. Let's see. What really drives me? That's a great question, and one that I guess I really need to sit down and answer, because people, it's not money. I'm not driven by money. Um, if I
I
was, I
don't
would.
think so at all. I actually I'm not either. So that's why when I ask you this question, because people have dug into me like, oh, you hate bullies, or Denver, you hate disinformation. Well, I was raised Mormon, right, and I left the Mormon faith, and I hate disinformation. I hate myths. I hate the
Yeah,
ability for people to control other individuals. I despise the fact that as Americans that people want to take away our freedom of thought under the guise of something else, whether it's anything from Christian nationalism to any type of other political type of mindset where you're limiting what people can do as Americans. And that's the stuff that drives me, right? I had to look deep into that because for me, I hate bullies, but really what I despise is people trying to inject their life view into other people when there's no reason to do it, and then making them pay for it, right? Or trying to criminalize it. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I like to fight. So that's why when I ask you, I
yeah.
love people who do what you do. So I love to know what the drive is also.
Okay. Well, bear with me as I
I'm
walk
ready.
you
Let's
through
do
an
this.
answer. I I love solving problems. I love solving puzzles. I think I was just a born bloodhound, and I enjoy the chase of something. And that's why I gravitated towards startups to begin with. And both the jobs, the two full-time jobs that I had before entering this field were both me doing everything. I was a one-woman marketing team, and I loved it. I love seeing my work manifest in the world. I think that's what really drives me. I love seeing the high that I got from seeing a thing happen and then it being covered in the news. I didn't need my name on it. I didn't care. I just was just in awe that a thing that I did from my laptop turned into a headline. If I can do that, if me, little old me can do that, then what does it mean when we all put our heads together and do something together? And that's
My
an addictive
goodness.
feeling.
So I can say that Nan Doodles is a justice chasing, problem solving, marketing guru bloodhound.
Okay.
Pretty good. Is that? Am I close? I think that's where I'm at with you right now, and I love it. And so, with your problem solving skills, what are you seeing in 2024 from your marketing background and what you've done since 2016? What do the American people have to worry about, and what are some of the things that you're doing right now?
Well, there's a lot to unpack for 2024, but I would prefer to not talk about all the things that could go wrong and instead talk about what could go right.
Let's do that.
And what I'm seeing from where I sit is that we have in our work. Now, I you've now heard my origin story. Let me tell you where we are now. Over the last 8 years, we have built, myself and my business partner Claire, who is like an incredible organizer of ideas and people. we've together built and grown what I feel is a critical mass. We have all the people and places and things in place now to fight back against a tech dystopia, like tech gone wrong, tech that has taken over every aspect of our lives. So it's a problem so big that nobody seems to know how to solve it. In fact, the thing that we see the most when we're out in the world talking about these issues are simply that most people can only do that: talk about the issue, talk about how bad it is, talk about how bad it's gotten. But we have the solution. We know what needs to be done and what steps need to be taken to dismantle the system, the disinformation economy, as we call it, that has allowed so much of the rot that we see around us to have taken place. We really see the world as in terms of business and economy, that's what it is. And the fact that there's so much hate and disinformation and junk out there, the really, like, we all see it in terms of the growth of scams, the growth of lies, the growth of manipulation all around us, is a function of the digital advertising ecosystem, and that is what we're laser focused on taking down.
You're one of my favorite pro reality people, Nandini. I have to tell you, it's funny you did that. I've started an AI and graph neural network company based on identifying bad actors in the social information ecosystem, right? So I went and stole people from NSA and I stole people from Space and Missile Defense Command. A lot of individuals that I worked with in the past, who did counterterrorism work, in the tech space. And almost looking at you, I'm just absolutely just so impressed, right? That you're actually you have this pro reality sort of background, and you have this pro reality way of looking at things, and you're using your expertise to do instead of just talk. And I think that's why I was so happy to talk to you. And as we're going forward, do you ever see yourself stopping this, Nan? Do you ever see yourself moving on to something else, or is this your thing? Is this your thing? This is what you want to be. This is what you want to do.
I certainly hope not. I certainly hope that I can leave this work one day. In fact, that is my core success metric, that we can move on, and maybe shut down the business.
Good for you.
Which is
Good for
not what
you.
people want to hear. But yeah, we don't, like, I mean, I fell into this work. I love it. I am committed to it. Claire and I both, and it's so much easier working on this issue when you have someone like Claire to work with. It's just an absolute joy and pleasure. We have built an incredible team of smart, fearless, mostly women, at our company, and we believe we can solve the problem. And then I plan to, God, I don't know what I plan to do after this. I mean, you can't you can't ask me what I'm going to do next.
I think you should go into public service at some point, and I think you would be amazing, right? At anywhere from CISA to any of the organizations that are looking at disinformation across platforms. I think you'd be fantastic for that. I think you should be on. I think you should be on boards, especially when it comes to companies that are looking at manipulative tech. I think anybody would want you, whether it's on some kind of private board, where it's on a public board, other nonprofits. But Nandini, at some point, I really think you should think about going into public service, as awful as it is, when it comes to either running for office or trying to be an appointee or something like that. But I think you would actually shine
Oh, well, thank
in
you.
that service sector. So that's, so we were talking, I was hoping like one day I'm going to, but listen, a lot of people, I would almost rather set myself on fire than run for Congress again. So I understand how awful that is. But I definitely want to tell you, having you on this show, and by the way, I want to meet Claire. Claire sounds awesome.
Claire
And you
is
said,
awesome.
and you also said, hey, it's mostly women. Let me tell you, our whole distillery is run by my wife, and we have an incredible crew of women who just absolutely dominate when it comes to what they do as far as making liquor, the marketing, and everything that we do for our distillery. So I am not surprised.
It is
It's
incredible
amazing.
what you can do when you take away all the bullshit and all the politics and all the little
Hell
annoying
yeah.
little barriers that get in the way of doing your job. And that's what we have. That's been our goal for me and Claire.
Andy, you are the no bullshit bloodhound. That's
We
what you
just want to
are.
get shit done.
Listen, you're no kidding. And the fact that you said bullshit, you don't know, my heart is full as a former military person that you just did that. And my heart is completely full. And I want to say when I'm talking to somebody who is a anti disinformation, no bullshit bloodhound that did it from scratch and saw something that needed to be done and just did it instead of talking about it, you are certainly a pro reality Army general. You're definitely part of the coalition of the sane. And Nandini, I just want to thank you so much for coming on. You made my day. Just
Oh, well,
completely made my day.
thank you so much for
Made
inviting
it.
me.
You are something. And is there anything you want to end with, Nandini, as we're going into 2024?
Oh gosh, take care of yourself. I mean, it's going to be a hard year. There's a lot of unknowns and a lot of variables out there, and I think the best thing that we can do is take care for ourselves and ensure that we are taking things day by day, and that we're all in this together.
Ma'am, thank you for being the no bullshit bloodhound that we all love. I appreciate it. And thank you so much for being on Coalition of the Sane.
Thank you, Denver.